Welcome, Leo, to your in-depth monthly horoscope for June 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart at the start of the month, which gives us a lot of information about how June will unfold. It begins with the Sun, your ruler, at 11 degrees in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is a sign that's very much to do with communication, but it also, for you, the 11th house is where you network. It's your friendships, your alliances, and your social interaction. But with the Sun just into the second 10 degrees of Gemini, that's sub-ruled by Venus, the planet of charm. But you can see at 10 degrees that Venus is very close to the Sun. In fact, they're going to be loved up within 3 degrees through the first 2 weeks of this month. So your personality power, often your greatest gift and your charisma, is going to be turned up to absolute max. And that's something that can be hugely valuable. This could see you building up some new connections. It may be that socially you're going to be mixing and mingling a lot more at the start of this month. But also you're going to be thinking about your long-term future, particularly with Jupiter, the planet of growth, optimism, and critically good fortune, also in Gemini as well. And Venus, the other planet of fortune, very close to the Sun, means that there can be very positive developments in terms of your connections to others. This could be working as part of a team, a collective, or it could be that something you've wanted to manifest for some while, particularly if it's of a more creative nature, really gets an opportunity to blossom. But also Jupiter is forging an incredibly powerful alliance to Pluto, the planet of change and transformation. Now that may be in a retrograde, but it continues in your sector of relating. Don't underestimate the power of your message in terms of what other people receive from you. What Jupiter does is transform in its connection to Pluto, but in a constructive way. Now, these two haven't been in this alliance in these signs for over 220 years. So the charm that the Sun and Venus together give you, but also the enthusiasm, the self-belief and confidence that Jupiter's providing as well, means that other people can really be switched on to your message, whether it is socially, whether it is about a business idea, whether it's about a cause that you're inspired by. Now in House 10, Uranus has been quite the disruptive influence full-time since 2019. There may have been times when things have been very unsettled, unpredictable, but also you've been pushed to experiment and try different things. If you've been up for that, I think actually looking back, there's lots of valuable knowledge and experiences that you've gained. But of course, Uranus is very much about freedom. And you can see that with Mercury so close to Uranus, Mercury has just passed over Uranus as last month came to a close. That creates a lot of electricity. So if you are finding yourself generating lots of different, very imaginative ideas, it wouldn't be a surprise. But then it's how you feed those ideas out to others that will be critical. And that's where your people skills, your personality, and your persuasion are going to be so potent in the early parts of this month. But also in House 9, you have Mars. Mars in Aries, of course, is bang at home. But in the third decan there for Mars, that's sub-ruled by Jupiter. So you could be feeling very hopeful and really optimistic at the start of this month. But if there is a gap in your knowledge base, which you feel is important to progress, the one thing I wouldn't do with Mars being so close to Chiron is fret about this to the degree that you're actually almost trying too hard. Also, it's important with Mars close to Chiron that you don't mask any insecurities by pridefulness. So if there is something you're unsure of, it's probably best to just front it up. Also in House 8 is very much about shared resources. If a partner or someone that you're involved with business-wise, or your own long-term finances have been squeezed a little bit over the last year, it wouldn't be a surprise. And because Neptune and the Moon are so close together in this area as June begins, it is going to be important to scrutinise any suggestions that you're given when it comes to money, deals, contracts. But what I would say is Neptune forges a very idealistic link to Jupiter. Neptune will be moving briefly next year, 2025, into the fire sign of Aries. So what Neptune's asking us to do is really examine our higher philosophies and purpose. So the link to Jupiter suggests that there could be someone who comes into your situation, maybe as an advisor, maybe someone that you just chat to informally, who helps you to look at your life in a different way. And that actually can provide some real spiritual uplift to you. So that sets the scene as we begin this month. It's bubbly, it's interactive, it's sociable. Your skills as a relator are definitely going to be heightened. And when you're on form, Leo, there's no sign like yours that can draw magic to you. You just have that innate ability to really connect to people in a way that they will follow your lead. So really exciting. And then on the 3rd, Mercury moves to join up with the other 3 players in Gemini. It moves into its home sign of Gemini, but it also merges with Jupiter. If you're having a meeting on the 3rd particularly, and that meeting is discussing something to do with a marketing situation or a business matter, this could be a very, very productive day. But I want to assure you that Jupiter and Pluto are going to be broadly in touch through the first 11 days of this month. So something's transforming in terms of your future direction, transforming in terms of your alliances, the friendships you have. You may have more confidence to be more daring when it comes to your professional situation. And there is a sense that there needs to be a change. And that old saying, a change is as good as a rest. But that brings us to the new moon of the 6th. New moons give us an opportunity to unify the energy of the sun, but also the moon. But let's be honest, the moon in Gemini is not its strongest position, because Gemini is very much about ideas. It can be a bit cool and detached. The moon needs emotion. So it's important not to be out of touch with your emotions. But in a broader sense, this new moon, because it is in a conjunction with Venus, suggests your popularity can really be on the up. But it's an interesting paradox, Leo, because as this month goes on, that is going to be potentially less important to you. But that brings us to the 9th. And the 9th sees Mars move into the sign of Taurus, replacing Mercury. But Mars in Taurus can be very single-minded. Should I even say bloody-minded? But for you, Mars moving to the very top of your solar horoscope, the 10th house, can imbue in you much greater confidence and a determination to be assertive. But it clashes immediately with Pluto. And in fact, week 2 is a big week because all that early, bright and very vivacious energy is challenged, not just by Mars moving into Taurus and clashing with Pluto, but also because the Sun and Venus come into a right angle with the restrictive energies of Saturn. However good your ideas are, however noble they may be, however well-meaning your friendships or alliances may be, what Saturn's going to do in week 2 is going to see some scrutinization of the hard and fast details. So for example, if you are developing a new business idea, you may talk to somebody who gets the excitement of what you're promoting, but they may see things in a slightly different way, a bit of a drier way. They're drilling down into the numbers, and that could at first sight seem a little bit of a challenge and maybe a bit demotivating. But because Mars moves on the 9th, that is going to give you a valuable amount of grit And sometimes we have to dig in. And if we really want a goal or an ambition, particularly of a material kind, because the sign of Taurus can be about money, it can be about our self-worth, it can be about our values, but the 10th house is about neat ambition. But you may encounter someone with Pluto in that square who sees something very differently to you. There could be a little bit of a power battle. So charm can take you a long way, particularly at the start of this month, and that new moon is definitely valuable. But just be aware that the challenges are coming through Saturn and through Pluto, applying first to the Sun and Venus and then to Mars. But you still get one final flourish with Mercury and Venus coming together between the 14th and the 16th in Gemini. Again, there's an opportunity for you to flex, because the sign of Gemini is mutable. It gives you the chance to perhaps shift around things a little bit, see things in a different way, listen to people's feedback, perhaps respond to that in a fast manner, and that can still win the day. But you do have a massive change coming on the 17th. Venus and Mercury both move into your 12th house. And then on the 20th, we have the summer solstice. The summer solstice ushers in the sun's arrival in Cancer, again, the 12th house. 12th house energy is very much about withdrawal, reflection, healing. It can be to do with wanting to cocoon ourselves away, perhaps get time to think about what things have meant. So despite the enormously charismatic energies at the start of this month, you can see by week 2 there can be some challenges, but by the start of week 3 it could be you that wants to just step back and think about what all this means. Also on the 22nd we have a full moon in Capricorn. Now the moon in Capricorn is its weakest part of its cycle, but it's a very practical location, can be very much to do with money in terms of security, which is what the moon's interested in. But for you, what we have here is a 12th, 6th opposition. The 12th house can be the people we need to deal with who won't necessarily show their opposition in an obvious way, those secret enemies that traditional astrology talks about. It can also be our own sensitivity about our vulnerabilities. It can also be, particularly I feel for the energy you have at the start of this month, a reminder to integrate the shadow side of your being, maybe the things that you're a little bit more uncertain about, perhaps your fears and anxieties, not to push them to one side, but bring them into you. And the moon will perhaps show in your physical health a bit of drop of energy if there are some worries shimmering away out of sight. But it is a full moon which is T-squared by that dreamy influence of Neptune that was so influential at the start of this month. If long-term finances continue to be a little bit of a worry, or there is uncertainty around them, that can feed into some of the concerns and drop in of physical vitality you have towards the end of this month. Also, Saturn, the planet of structure, goes into a retrograde for 20 weeks through to the 15th of November on the 29th. So for us all, Saturn goes through this retrograde each year, but for us all, it's going to rewind 7 degrees. Think of what you've learnt over the time that Saturn has been in Pisces. That began on March the 7th. You've probably learnt to be a bit thriftier in some ways, perhaps a bit more guarded about who you will interact with. Perhaps you've been taking your own business ideas more seriously. Perhaps you've rolled up your sleeves and you're really working hard in an area of life that you're really invested in. Could be a romantic relationship, it could be a business idea or a job you have. So Saturn slowing down just asks you to review some of the progress that you've made. But that full moon at the end of the month is in such stark contrast to the glittering, outgoing energy at the start of this month. I think you can really say that this is a month of two halves, rather like that sports metaphor. But we shouldn't underestimate the glory of those energies at the start of this month. It's just we need to know what they're about. There's so much Venusian energy at the start of this month, and Venus's rulership of Libra can not only be diplomatic, can be excellent if we're negotiating or creating an impression, a positive impression, but you just need to be aware that however strong your people skills are, however good your network is, however much fun you have socially, underneath that there are going to be some rugged points in the month where you're going to be asked some searching questions and be tested, but it doesn't mean to say you can't come through. But I feel that if you're very integrated around your health, so you're not hung up, that if you're feeling a bit low in vitality, that you're not aware that could be to do with unresolved griefs, perhaps the energy you've been picking up from other people has drained you somewhat. If you're able to just accept that that's part of the human state and not let your pride stop you from experiencing those emotions, actually by the end of this month, that cocooning away that you do can be really, really valuable, because it's really preparing you, all of this, for when the sun moves into your sign. And then it's going to be a time of enormous progress. So I feel there's going to be the first blush of something really significant at the start of this month, then a period of consolidation, thinking, perhaps withdrawal, maybe a time to get some good healing, some therapeutic treatments, look after yourself, have some spa days, just look at balancing your energy nicely, and you're going to burst back into fine form by the third week of July. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Leo. I hope you have a great June. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please help it grow. And also check out my special offer astrology reports. They will give you searing insights into your future prospects and a much more intimate understanding of where you are now. I have natal, tropical options and draconic options available, 30% off. Please see the link below for more.